Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and thank you for spending some time with me today. And in this video, I am going back on some of my design advice and I am telling you about some of the things that I've changed my mind about. And maybe that's a little bit because of your influence, but also just because not every piece of design advice fits every home. And the first thing we have to talk about is one of those things, and that's about hanging your drapery. Now, I love drapery hung to the ceiling, and that's typically what I recommend, but that's also because most of the homes I've worked on, most of the homes I've lived in have been set up for that. But that piece of design advice doesn't work for everyone. So I stand by hanging your drapes extra tall, but sometimes hanging them to the ceiling is not the answer and not doable. Example, in my home, and pretty much every home I've ever lived in, there has only been between like 9 and 12 inches of drywall above my door frames. And so to hang the drapery to the ceiling there isn't really that big of a deal, right? Like you have a little bit of a gap of space between the ceiling and the rod, or if you have crown molding in the rod, and then you have the actual depth of the rod itself, and then the line of the drapes where they hang below the rod and all of that stuff. It lowers what that looks like. And so that works in those spaces, but a lot of people don't have that. Some people will have 9-foot ceilings and 7-foot doors and windows, right? So you have 24 inches of drywall above your windows. Hanging your drapery to the ceiling in that instance, it's like kind of crazy. Like you have so much space above the window where the drapery is, like it just creates this really kind of almost off-like effect that just looks out of place. In that case, I would say hang it in the middle between the top of the window frame and the ceiling, or the bottom of the trim, so that it meets in the middle. Like it just doesn't look out of place and crazy, like there's a big gap of drywall there that looks ridiculous. And especially with a vaulted ceiling, you just can't do that, right? Like you cannot hang drapery on a vault. It cannot be hung at an angle, because that means when it's open, you have a giant pool of fabric. And then when it's closed, it's like at an angle. You have to have it cut specially. It's very custom, but then you can never open them because you have a giant like mess of fabric all over the floor. So what do you do in that instance, right? You don't hang it to the ceiling, you hang it to the highest point you could with it still being perfectly horizontal, at least the rod anyway. Do you see why I mean, like, I can't recommend that completely? Like, I want your drapes to be hung above your window, above the frame. I want them to be oversized on the window, but they cannot always be hung to the ceiling. And that's why I've gone back on that piece of design advice. Not because it's not the right answer, but because it doesn't fit every space. Sometimes you have to go custom to get the correct look and feel in a space, and that's okay to get the perfect window treatments, because I genuinely believe window treatments are the feature that makes or break great design. Another piece of design advice I'm kind of going back on is about panel-ready appliances. I've talked about this a million times. When you're doing your kitchen or you're doing a renovation, like maybe that's not the best place to put your money, or I'm gonna put it somewhere else, and like, how far is the budget going to extend? But the reality is, I really love panel-ready appliances. I genuinely think they are so great, and if you have the budget to do them, you should, but it's just about making sure that you're doing the right things in the right places. Like, I'm probably not gonna go crazy and spend the most of my budget on countertops and be like the most exotic imported marbles. Like, I might go for something that's a little bit more like within the frame of reality, so that I can then move a little bit more of that budget onto the appliances and do those panel ready. Now, what I will also say is a lot of my clients, they're not doing gut renovations. They may not be starting from scratch and getting rid of everything. They might be saying like, hey, we're keeping the floors, we're keeping the cabinetry, we just want to do new countertops and backsplash and hardware and lighting and those sorts of features, like a mini update to their kitchen rather than a full renovation. If you're in that situation, it's almost impossible to get new cabinetry that matches your existing cabinetry for like so many reasons. Number one, we don't know who made that necessarily and whether they still can make that same door profile and make it fit the panel-ready appliance that's now going in there. We also don't know that the stain will match, right? If you have wood cabinetry, people don't realize that wood stain darkens over time. The panel-ready appliance that we're having custom made to match is not going to match, and if it does match, it will not age the same way. So in a year or two's time, it will look different anyway. That's just not really an answer for those situations. But if you're doing your kitchen and you have the ability to do a panel-ready appliance, I think you should do it. I think you should do it, especially on a dishwasher. Dishwashers just, I don't know, there's something off about that to me. A refrigerator, on the other hand, refrigerators are big. the more space you have, the more you pay for it. So they're very expensive to do. And that's the one area I'm gonna forgive you on. Okay, if we don't have the budget to do all panel ready, do the dishwasher and let's do an exposed refrigerator. Stainless steel refrigerator, gorgeous, fine, expected. Nobody's gonna be like shocked at that. Do built-in if you can do it, right? Those are some of the features you can do. I genuinely love that and I think it looks so fantastic. Bonus points to a drawer dishwasher. I love that you can do a smaller load of dishes at one time, especially if it's just 2 people or you're a single person living in a home. Like maybe you don't have a full dishwasher of dishes, and I'm not letting a bunch of dirty dishes sit around my house. It's disgusting. So I'd like to have a smaller dishwasher where I could do a single load for, you know, 1 or 2 people, maybe some dog bowls thrown into the mix there, so they're nice and fresh and clean too. That's like major bonus points. Now, that's a lot to take in, and I know it. In a kitchen renovation, a renovation of any sort is not a small feat. Even just picking a paint color can be really difficult. So that's where I come in. As an interior designer, I've got the answers you need. You can always book a one-on-one design consultation with me using the link in the description box down below, or by going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic, and you can book a little bit of time with me. You can show me around. I can answer some questions for you. I'm not gonna take over your project. I'm not gonna project management. I'm not gonna blow the budget out of the water with you. I'm gonna work within the bounds that you set to create the most efficient, the most effective, and the most gorgeous space in your home, without having to tell you to just gut everything and get rid of it and start from scratch. So if you're doing a project in your home, spending a little bit of time with a designer can save you a lot of time and headache and money in the long run, making good decisions that will actually enhance the design of your space in an unexpected way. Book a call with me using that link or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic, and I'll see you over there. Now, something I recently talked about that I'm changing my mind on somewhat is accent walls. For a long time, I was just like, don't do an accent wall. They're not elevated enough. They're not good enough. But I've recently been just liking them a little bit more, and I use them in very strategic ways. I'm not the person that's gonna be like, oh, the wall behind the bed, make it an accent, right? Like the wall behind the television, oh, paint it a crazy color. That looks like a little bit of a model or a tract home to me, okay? I'm gonna use an accent wall in a more elevated way that is enhancing the architecture. And that's what I really wanna do. I'm gonna look for an architectural feature that we may say like, oh, we want it to fade away, we want it to blend into the background. No, 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 no. We want it to stand out. We want it to be that moment. We want to balance the space out. Or maybe we have a really great detail on one side of the space, like a bedroom with a gorgeous bank of windows, right? Well, maybe we want to do an accent wall behind the bed so that we balance out where that kind of feature is, right? So that it's not just an overwhelming, like I see nothing but this one thing. Like we can balance that out by having a detail over here. And I'm going to use accent walls in a strategic way to tie in a color scheme, but I'm not going to do them as just like, we need a random pop of color. I'm gonna do it in a way that enhances the space. I'm gonna do it in a slightly more muted tone or a color that we're pulling from the color scheme itself. Maybe it's even a textural feature or a moment. Maybe it is a wallpaper accent. Maybe it's paneling or molding of some sort on that wall to really make it stand out and make it just be a little interesting. Recently, I've also been liking murals, which is very interesting. You know, when you find a great resource for something that is actually super elevated, it changes your entire perspective on things. I like a wall that bridges 2 spaces, like a big long wall with a living and dining room. I like a wall like that. That can be a really good accent wall. Or I'm saying do 2 walls, right? Around a corner to tie the space into another one, to make it feel more architectural. A weird architectural feature in your house, something that just doesn't make any sense, painted an accent, and all of a sudden it starts to make sense as to why it's there and make it look good, like literally gorgeous. I love using color in an unexpected way, and that's why I'm going back on my no accent walls sort of thing, because they can be used really efficiently in an elevated way. Now, you know I'm all about your home being gorgeous and stunning and beautiful, and for those of you who are subscribers, you already know this, and your house is probably stunning because you have great taste, which is why you're a part of GarrettLeChic family. But if you haven't already, now is the opportune moment to hit the subscribe button and join us. You can also scan this QR code with your cell phone's camera, and it will take you directly to my YouTube channel page, where you can hit subscribe. It's as easy as that, and I love that for you. I'd also greatly appreciate if everyone watching could turn on their bell notifications to get notified every time I post a video. Also, give this video a like, and if you're willing to give me a little bit of hype to get this video shared across the platform. I love that for me, and I love that for you. And I love that for us too. Now, the next piece of design advice that I've kind of changed my mind about is all about rug size. Now, all of the time people would be like, put all your furniture on the rug, put all your furniture on the rug. And that just doesn't work in every space. And it's too like blanket of a term to say because it doesn't work for every home, right? But the reality is whenever I'm working on a space where we're floating furniture, all of the furniture is on the rug. That's just always what I see and what I think works the best. So if we can see the back of your sofa, we should be seeing the back of your rug as well. Let's just leave it at that. The back of a chair, the back of anything. I want to see the rug underneath that. And previously I was saying, oh, you can take the rug like 3/4 of the way under. And yeah, you can do that. But I was really saying that just because sometimes it's hard to find a rug that fits your house, okay? It's really hard, especially no home is the same, no two rugs are gonna fit your space the same, like your sofa is gonna be different than mine and the spacing with the chairs and the coffee table and all of this stuff. It's really hard to find the perfect size rug that fits your space, but I'm doing my homework and finding resources where I can order a custom sized rug and get something that actually fits correctly. Or I've been recommending for clients to go to like mom and pop type flooring stores that are gonna have just better and nicer carpets and have a wall-to-wall carpet cut into a rug and bound in the perfect size for their space. It really just elevates the design and it takes it to the next level. And it's not necessarily more expensive to do that. So like, why would you not if maybe it takes a little bit of extra time, okay. But it just elevates things in such a gorgeous way. Now, the only time I'm kind of like, I don't think the furniture should sit all the way on the rug is if your furniture touches a wall, because I think there's something absolutely off and diabolical about a rug touching a wall. Like wall-to-wall carpet, okay, but a rug? Why is the rug touching the wall? Why is it touching the baseboard? Why is it against it? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that's allowed. So I don't recommend it in that instance. A lot of people have houses where the furniture touched the walls. I'm sitting in one right now. Like my sofa is against the wall. And I love that for me. Now I don't have a rug here because Arden ruined it, but if I did, it wouldn't touch the wall because it doesn't make any sense. As long as the front of the sofa is sitting on the rug, I think it's okay, but I would prefer the rug go 3/4 of the way under the sofa. So if this sofa is 24 inches deep, then I think I have about 6 inches between the wall and the rug. And then I need that rug to start because that's just what feels balanced and correct to me. But at the end of the day, if I'm floating a living room arrangement, I want all of the furniture sitting on the rug. I just think that makes more sense. It feels more luxurious. It feels slightly more modern, yes, but I do think that's kind of the only way to go about doing things. Now, I would never steer you wrong, okay? Like if you do have your rug that's 3/4 of the way under the furniture in a floated living room arrangement, it still looks good. I stand by that, okay? It looks great. I just find that if I have the choice of telling my clients to do something more custom and they're willing to do it, that's not the route I'm going. Okay, that's a compromise for me. And so I'm not gonna maybe suggest that to those people, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it looks bad at all. And I think it does add a little bit of a layer to the space. It gives it kind of a boho type of feel, which I'm not mad about because boho is a great style. And if that's your style personally, the trend is over. So now it's timeless and classic for you, which I think is great. Another piece of design advice I have adjusted my thought process on is all about televisions. For a while, like, I mean, I've never been the person that was like, no TVs in your room. Like, I just think that's crazy. Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I've never been that person, but I've always been a person that said like, put it in a place where we can't see it when we enter, or, you know, hide it in some way, put it in a cabinet, or get a frame TV that doesn't look like a television. But the reality is you're not hiding the TV. Like, I know it's there. If all of the furniture is angled towards a television, just because I can't see it when I first enter the room doesn't mean it's not there. And quite frankly, what we do a lot of right now is living in living rooms and we live around televisions. And so my number one problem with a TV is just the general proportions of it. Because if we hang the television correctly in line with our eyesight, it's hung lower than pretty much everything else, than all of the artwork, than most pieces of furniture are tall or whatever. So it's like, how do we balance that out? and make it make sense, make it feel like it's the appropriate scale. For me, I need to have a big long console underneath it, long enough that I can put lamps on either side of the TV. Not that you necessarily have to, but big enough that you could if you wanted to, and then potentially, if we're not doing lamp sconces on either side of it, right, like to build up the bulk around it so it feels more like an entertainment center than just a TV hung on the wall. And I do think that you should mount a television. It's worth having a contractor hang the wiring behind the drywall in your home. It's 2026, you're not fooling anybody. We all have TVs, okay? Technology is here, it's among us, it's around us. At the end of the day, I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing a television in your space because we all have them, we all live with them, it's expected. So don't be the person that thinks you have to go overboard trying to hide it, because at the end of the day, sometimes just comfort and usability has to take place over the aesthetics, right? It is always about function over form. We want the form to meet the function, but that's not always like doable, possible, and it doesn't always make the most amount of sense. And I'd rather see you take the budget from having, you know, like a custom hidden built-in for your TV and put it into a better quality sofa, or, you know, a nicer rug, or just a more finished space. Great drapery. Oh, I love that. And great drapery eliminates the glare on a television. So think about that before you have your TV custom built in a way that just doesn't make any sense. Now, let me tell you what. I know there's a lot of junk advice out there that just doesn't work for anybody, and it certainly isn't for everybody. Don't get caught up in that. Be sure you check out this video right here, all about 10 design ideas and things not to get sold on in your home this year or ever. You don't need them. Be sure you check it out right here, and I will see you over there.